thank you for joining. I will be hosting today's OTT, and we're going to be talking about data products, building the foundation of data-driven companies. So this topic came to my mind after being introduced to Datamesh. I got the book and I found the concepts shared by the author pretty interesting and valuable to share. The author defines Datamesh for being a decentralized, socio-technical approach to sharing, accessing, and managing analytical data in complex and large-scale environments within or across organizations. This is quite a couple of things, but the way I understood going through the first chapters of the book was that it's not only about technology, but it's also about how an organization is divided and how people are working. So I'm going to jump to the next slide, which I think is similar to how the book starts. In this image, we see what would be a data mesh in an organization. So the author uses a Spotify-like organization to talk about how a data mesh can be implemented and how it can benefit an organization once a data mesh exists. And so in this case, the main thing to note is that this organization is divided into three like big groups: artists, podcasts, and users. And there are complete teams within each of these domains. So the first thing to have a data mesh is to have these definitions of domains. And this is quite different from what organizations have been doing for the last many years, where you have product, engineering, data living in silos, meaning that the people that work with data are all responsible for everything analytics in a company. And since they may be distant from where the data is created, they may just not have enough context to create the most ideal analytics, reports, and everything that would add value to the company. So what the data mesh proposes is that each of these domains have small data teams embedded into them. So the product people, engineering, and data engineers and data scientists would be distributed across different domains, and they would create the so-called data products. And those data products would follow a product thinking approach where you try to deploy for your company and for other companies the best possible data product that they could have. So ensuring that there's data quality, that the data can be understood, the data can be discovered, the right permission policies are in place. There's a lot around a data product. And in this other image, I will just highlight this transition that companies would make going from a centralized model to a decentralized model or a mesh model. So, for example, in the previous model, we had monolithic, where one team of data engineers would create all the pipelines and everything, and they would be responsible for generating analysis. This could definitely become a bottleneck for the company because there's just one team responsible for that. And once you adopt a data mesh, you distribute that to different teams. And so the other thing that this causes is that data is seen as a first-class product, an important thing for the company. So it's not a byproduct of your operations, but it is in the beginning given thought, and it's created with the same level of importance that we give to the products that we build. We also do to the data products that we build. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's a lot more than also in the slide that I won't go through related to data governance and the changes that it makes. I'll try to keep it short and keep in the context of a data product. Now here, these are the 4 pillars of the data mesh. And I'm interested in the data as a product first. Even though, let's say, there's a certain order in which you can follow when adopting a data mesh. First, it is highly important that your organization works in a domain-driven way. Otherwise, it's just not possible for you to break down the silos. You need to first identify people that are going to own certain domains. But just after that, you can start working on data products. And I think this can be done incrementally to a certain degree. So if your company today has a big silo of data, and maybe you face the problems described by the author, so it may not be efficient to generate new insights from your data, but you identify a specific domain that is somewhat decoupled from the rest of the organization, you can focus specifically on that domain and create a data as a product. And this is a similar approach as companies did when they started adopting microservices and a domain-driven architecture in the software world. The author is very clear to say that she did not come up with these concepts. She borrowed from software as she has been in the industry for many years. And so it turns out that the same separation of concerns that we found important in the software world apply also to the data world. And so that's one of the very initial steps in your data mesh journey would be identify these these domains, and then start creating small ad hoc data as a product offerings. And those isolated data products can then be iterated, and you start relying less in the previous siloed model and more into a mesh distributed architecture. And so to close out this quick conversation, I would just like to share one of the things that we have been developing at Whiteprompt, which is the data as a service value-added service that we have. It's built on top of AWS, and it helps organizations take their first step into maybe not adopting a full mesh because it's quite complex, but it gives companies and startups a way to start leveraging their data in ways that they couldn't do before. So this architecture describes the main components for a data product built on AWS. The first one to highlight is Kinesis Firehose. This service can be used to ingest data in near real time and store in multiple destinations of your choice. For most cases, that destination will be S3. And so S3 is a object storage that has many functions, and it's widely used for data lakes. Now, even though data lakes are known for being structureless, if you plan out ahead, you can actually have something similar to a data lake house where you add schema to the data in this data lake via the format that you choose. So in this case, if we choose Parquet to be the format that we store the data, we can have a format conversion in Kinesis Firehose that once you take the raw data in JSON format, for example, as you previously described the schema, you describe the columns that you plan on ingesting, that creates Parquet files, which has the data plus the schema. So that's very efficient approach to later querying and analyzing this data if you expect to have lots and lots of volume. And then the way you would query the data in Parquet stored in S3 is using something like Athena. Athena would leverage the same glue data catalog that you use in Kinesis Firehouse to convert the raw JSON into Parquet. Athena would use that catalog to query the data from S3. And so you can leverage um, all the benefits of having a schema defined in the very beginning of the project to then make queries. And this also touches on other ideas of a data mesh, such as data discoverability. Now, every member of the company that has access to AWS can go there into the Glue catalog and they can find the data. And if you're diligent enough to add comments in each column to describe them, it definitely helps our organization to get access to your data and make it understandable and high quality, which is expected from a data product. So that would be a first iteration that companies can do to take their existing services running on EC2, running on Lambda, even on premise, or they could already be using streaming services from AWS, such as Kinesis Data Stream and Managed Kafka. All those sources leverage this architecture in the same way. So it's pretty much something that you need to do a good amount of planning in the schema at first. So you need to deeply understand the domain to create this in the right way. But once it's done, you collect data for a couple months, and eventually this data can provide great value to companies that can run then analysis on this specific data product. And as you start implementing, you can then combine different data products to generate insights that were not possible with different architectures. And that's pretty much it. I'm open for questions if there's any that you like to make. Otherwise, I appreciate everyone who joined and wish you great luck in your journey to make your company more data driven. Thank you.